Might as well start with coming back to Jerusalem, which is like the enlightenment itself, so to speak, in this Illumination class or Illumination meeting. So I'm very happy that you joined, and it's already way out of hand in my experience of things. So it's yeah. So thank you, God, for all the light and love. And thank you for everything. That's so amazing. That's so amazing. So today, the fifth exploration in the Illumination meeting, and yeah, so it's a finale. Like it's a finale. What that means, I don't know. We're going to find out. What I do recognize is what is being shared is like so direct and beautiful, and that's one really great thing, and so great that you're a whole part of this. And another thing is we're going to start with so we're going to start with Revelation 21, which is John speaking to us in his spirit state, so to speak. And this is just what you in fact just heard in the music too. It's beyond words. It is a revelation put into words, which is impossible, but still it communicates amazingly well. So I'm happy to share that with you. So today we use also the book Master Teacher Illumination, and I got very specific sequences out of it, out of the last chapter of the book, and share those with you, which is really like it brings you into a way of looking at things and its consequences in a beautiful way, really great. And the funny part of, great to see that it's literally all one curriculum that we're actually right in the middle of, is that where we left off with Joel in the unveiling on Sunday. We continue here is exactly the same spot, and that's so amazing. If you see it, it's like just incredible. So there's a perfect plan, and there's a perfect curriculum where you move through, so to speak, in your undoing, in your transformation, in your discovering the new you, and everything is helping with that. Like it's coming from all ways, all directions, but it's telling you, pointing in the same direction. And I thought that was lovely to recognize that too. So starting with Revelation 21, which is at least a part of it, which is kind of familiar, probably to you too. But we're going to use this like a contemplation meditation. We will be still for a moment after it, just to allow yourself to feel, to experience, and to join. And let's do that. So I'm reading this to you. So sit back and relax and open up, and however you can receive this. Wonderful. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and earth and the first earth have passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat at the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said to me, It's done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give you the fountain of the water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. I'll repeat this one more time. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth have passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell in them, with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of the water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining in the silence after this. So we heard just also 2 songs with the Jerusalem theme, and so Jerusalem is in this last chapter of say the book Illumination is also used as an representation of your crown chakra. So it's like chakras, you know, in your body, like your light body has chakras, has 7 chakras, and so the crown chakra, which is like your connection with the divine in light body perspective, is being said as the New Jerusalem, is the opening up of that. It's like letting the light into your system, letting the light be a total part of yourself. And this what we're talking about today, like where we dive into or look at or experience, hopefully, is the opening of all these centers. So all these centers have names, and we're not going to get into that. But we're actually talking about enlightenment, like illumination, but then from out of a Christian perspective. And why Christian perspective? It's like we have one example that we in fact use a lot of the times, which is Jesus Christ of Nazareth, right? Jesus Christ, the Christ mind. So that's why we call this like Christian enlightenment. And just to have one example or one representation of our true self. And whatever name you give that doesn't really matter. We saw this with Joel too the other day. It's like whether it's the Buddha, whether it's the Christ, who cares about the name? That doesn't matter. But we use this in a Christian perspective, you could say, just for the very sake of having one lineage where we're actually talking about. And that's why I use it in this. And that's why Master Teacher is using it in the book too. So today is then, you could say, like diving really deep into your own being, diving really deep into the essence. And in that sense, it's going to be like a new teaching, a new discovery that you can make today. And that's why I was so attracted to share these illumination classes, because every time you see, it is just, say deeper research or deeper discovery for yourself, not research, but more discovery, like a discovery for yourself, to go really deep into your own self and recognize something that is really like revealed to you, and like you're able to receive that, but you have to come into the right place to receive it. And that's always interesting how that happens. And so whatever works for that is very welcome. So with music we do a bit of that, and with Revelations 21 it is like a recognition of the New Jerusalem. You recognize that. I don't know if this, say, part of the Bible has ever spoken to you like Revelations, because in fact you see your whole transformation reflected there, and with different names, with names of churches, and the 7 churches represent your 7 chakras, so to speak. So if you take it, say, this time very personal, and see it as a representation of your energy system, then it makes total sense what you're reading. Up to the point of, in fact, the history that is being shared around Christ's awakening, which is like moving into the desert for 40 days, for 40 years, coming back through Egypt and all this. It's like, if you want to read more about that, you should really get into this chapter. So I started already sharing this, and I tried to get out of it, so that is not really effective if I keep bringing it back in. But I'm actually, I don't know how this is going to help you, but we're going to stick pretty close to the book, just for the very sake of, I don't want to miss the possibility of sharing, say, some really deep insights with you, and hopefully they speak to you in a certain way in which you recognize something. That would be so wonderful. So now, to keep this also dynamic in a certain sense, I made some sheets with short statements, short say parts of the chapter, and we'll see how this evolves. I will share with you the first. It's basically what I'm saying is, I really don't know how to do this. So we come through this Christian enlightenment. So when I say I don't know how to do this, it's like it has to be given, otherwise I really don't know. But I love what I read given to us by Master Teacher here in the book. So Christ is not a body, yet is the Christ always with you. Christ is not a body, yet is the Christ always with you. So every form that you have associated in your apparent symbiotic self-relationship must contain the bright light of the Absolute. So here And something that is unreal can't come to reality, right? Something that isn't real, that is unreal, cannot come to reality. That's impossible. So, but every form that you have associated in your apparent symbiotic self relationship must contain the bright light of the Absolute. Like Christ is not in the body, yet the Christ is always with you. Okay, so let's look at this for just a moment. So I'm sharing this to bring in a very specific point, because what we're dealing with here in this whole series, of course, is vision, is the way that you look, like vision. Christ's vision is the way that the Christ sees, but the Christ sees in consciousness, like the Christ sees in total acceptance. So so you could bring this back to your daily life. You could say, like, God is in everything that I see. You know, we're familiar with this expression, like God is in everything that I see, but it's not in the illusory idea I have about it. And so that means that there's a way of looking at everything that you can see, say, in fact, the communication of the universe with every aspect of it. So the Christ is in you, the Christ is always with you, yet the Christ is not in the body. Like your brother is your savior, you could say, your brother is your savior, but the way that you see him, he appears to be separate from you in a body identity. Well, this is one of the, say, the things that come back in the teaching all the time. It's like, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. That's one way of saying that. But so the deeper essence then behind all of this is then there must be, say, divinity in everything that is present and everything that is there. And it has nothing to do with how you describe that in your form, say, associative thinking. So what is unreal has nothing to do with reality, like does not exist in reality. That's one of the expressions too. So this is really helpful in a certain sense. It's like, so that all that you perceive with your associative thinking, with your perception of form, of separate parts, of distance, time and space, is not what it truly is. We know this, like you can look beyond appearances, we say, or the form in itself is meaningless, but you look beyond it and you see. So this is an attempt to express this, while it is really based on an experience of recognizing the totality of who you are and seeing that reflected in everything. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying conceptually. You might know what I'm saying as an experience. Then it makes total sense. Then it's like, yes, of course. Like, how else would you be able to heal the sick and raise the dead? If any of this was real, then that would be impossible, because it would be a formula, like a crystallized form with a certain aspect of reality, which could never change in that sense. So that's good to know. So in the practice of, say, becoming open and receptive to this, this is in fact our transformational process. Like it says in Revelations 20, is like the old things have passed away. So it's not like, it doesn't say like we're holding on to these old things and with that we will be fine. No, it's like the old things have passed away. All my whole value system of what I really wanted to hold together, because I valued it for my safety and comfort, it's gone. It is not my safety. I have to let go of these things. Actually, I really love this, that we dive deeply into it, because it's like we sink deeper and deeper into the matter. You'll see. It is the residual of the resurrection that remains here. You were the residual. You were the rejecter of the resurrection. If the Christ is real, indeed, he is in you, he is you, and you are risen with him. If the Christ is real, indeed he is you, and you are risen with him. So there can be no residual. The Christ is risen. You are no longer here, and the earth is gone, like the former earth and heaven have disappeared. This directs you to the absurdity of continuing establishment of the mind in the limitation. Okay, so there's a couple of things that is being shared here. So it's the residual of the resurrection that remains here. You were the residual. You were the rejecter of the resurrection. So this is another deep step down, deeper into the matter. So it's like the old have passed away. The resurrection, Jesus resurrected. Yes, the Christ is, say, resurrected. The Christ is in me. The Christ is in me, but not in body form. So what remains here is this idea about myself, that I think that I'm located in space and time and walk around on planet Earth. While this Earth, it's like that's the residue. It's something that seems to be left over, but if you get it right, there can be nothing left. So it must also be able to disappear. And so now it's really interesting, because how are we going to look at this? Like, am I here really, or am I not really here? Am I in this body? Am I like located in space and time? Or am I gone from here? Did the earth pass away? Like, did the earth disappear? So that's the position, like that's what's being said here. And so now, what is left then? What is this thing that wants to wake up, that rejected the resurrection? Because it apparently is not an experience of resurrection, so it must be denying it, otherwise it would be gone. So what are we going to do with this residual? Well, we will have to see it for what it is. You know, you will have to see that for what it is. And luckily we have, say, assistance with that. We have a possibility to wake up out of this dream that the resurrection did not occur, and that we're still separate parts of the whole, which is of course not true, but we can experience it like that. Oh yeah, so this directs you to the absurdity of the continuing establishment of the mind in the limitation. Aha. So this is wonderful. So this is the absurdity of continuing, keeping this going in our minds. The idea that we're separate and that we need to work at it and we need to do this and that there's conflict, that there's separation, that there's who knows what. And we think we need to perpetuate that because we cannot leave it yet. We think we have something to do here first before we can go and let go of this. So that's also, say, quite something. So all these things we come back to us in the spiritual program, in fact, that we're in. So Joel said this too the other day, like in the unveiling. It's like you cannot hold both, like you cannot have both. You have to let go of one in order to see the other. You have to see it for what it is. You cannot say, yeah, this is what Joel says, like you cannot say like, I am sick. No. If I am who I am, I cannot say I am sick. What about me could be sick if I am? You know, this is an incredible link of bridge, however you want to call it. It's like this is absolutely where that meets, where that is one story. You see that it doesn't matter which path you follow, you come to this point. You recognize yourself as I, or you're lost in space and time. So this is the same then with what Master Teacher shares here in this. It's like you cannot have both. Like you either resurrected, like when Christ resurrected, everyone resurrected, because there's only one of us, there's only one mind resurrecting. So any idea about continuation here is absurd in that perspective. You know, it's like in reality that's absurd. Why would you, like, what is your motivation to prolong this any longer? Now this is why I said this is going to be like a really deep and in fact very direct class, a very direct message that is being shared. So very, yeah, it's gonna do something with you. Like you hear this and it's going to do something with you. Absolutely. So that's why it's quite something, and this is why I am really like blown away if I hear, for instance, the song Jerusalem, or you know, or read in Revelation 20, or yeah, whatever has to do with the recognition that this is over and that you're home in heaven. Say with any link with an idea of coming home in yourself, touches me deeply, because it is like, this is exactly the experience I'm sharing here. This is what I, yeah, this is where I reside. This is where I am, and tell me how to bring anyone home. How to bring? It's like, tell me how to do that, because there's no place like home in that sense. There's no place like home. The rest really does not exist, and it becomes more and more obvious. So, yeah, that's where it comes down to. And I love that. I love that. So it's so amazing, in fact, to talk about this, because it's like, it's my favorite place. How can I possibly share this? How can I bring you home? How can I, you know, it's like, well, come and join me. Come and let everything go and come home. What are you waiting for? What do you think you need to do here? First, resolve all the conflict? No, there will be more. It's endless. Taking care of your family, it's taken care of. It's like, none of this is, all the necessities that you can come up with to delay your departure is really what the illusion is. So this was the appointment we had to come to the recognition, like, we leave for home today, and you will have no motivation to stay here one more minute. So let's go. Let's go. What are we doing? Are we keeping these classes to deny our access to heaven? No, this has already passed away. This is gone. This is over. So you're welcome home, and that's all. So everything will point in that direction, especially today. If the Christ is real, which we recognize that he is, indeed he is you, and you are risen with him. You did come to know this in the fabric of the continuum of space-time that you have constructed. So you did come to know this in the fabric of the continuum of space and time that you have constructed. We step out of time and space and then step back into to manifest in the certainty of the communicative devices of ourselves with ourselves. So we enter back into time just to remember each other, to remind each other, this place is exit, this place is over. Come on home. The great Master Jesus sits with us now as he sits with us out of time. See, here's another one. It's like that is occurring right now. Jesus is sitting with us here. Like we come together to remember this, to come home. He is right here with us, out of time. See, this is what is said here above. We step out of time and space and then step back into to manifest in the certainty of our communicative devices of ourselves with ourselves. Like it starts to resonate. What you hear starts to resonate and it starts to expand. Like it's literally like you vibrate in a higher frequency and say, yeah, it is just attracting itself. It's bringing itself home. And that's why it doesn't matter if you find yourself here or not. In the extension of, the recognition of you as the Christ in you. And that is so amazing. So that just attracts more of that. Like it's literally, it brings itself home. So you have to give this away in order to hear it. We say this many times. Like you first have to receive it for yourself in order to extend it to others. But this is like, the other is yourself. So you're extending it to yourself and you recognize that you're home in heaven and that nothing can come in between of that. Like that's a fact. And until you get that completely yourself, you still think that there's such a place as this. So an amazing idea. The great Master Jesus sits with us now as he sits with us out of time. Like there's no different places. There's just one place where this is happening. And it's in you. It has nothing to do with time. And it has everything to do with a total recognition of your Christhood. The power of God is you. Up from the grave you arose and became that new light body. Jesus says that you are the only living Son of God, and that is a statement of your whole mind in association with the creative forces of singular reality. Okay, so the power of God is in you. Up from the grave you arose and became that new light body. You are the only living Son of God. It is a statement of your whole mind. And say, in your whole mind are the creative forces of singular reality. From the grave you arose. From the grave you arose. So what is this grave? That is your human existence, like your human ideas about yourself. So from that you arose. And say there's your whole mind. Here's your whole mind represented. Being out of the grave. You literally start to formulate yourself in a new body, a new light body, instead of a dense, solid appearing body. So this is a light body. So that's why I was in the beginning talking about these chakras too, or with the crown chakra, your new Jerusalem. It's like when you receive this message, step by step, you start to feel more energy moving through your system, opening certain centers. Suddenly your heart opens up. It's like, oh, I'm so grateful, or so whatever. So I feel so much love, or just like this, like your heart, your chest can't seem to take it. So with your throat, or with your third eye, or with your crown chakra, it can really be like, whoa, it cracks right open. It's like, wow, I can't believe it. There's so much light. Suddenly there's a possibility for me to receive that and let that flow through my whole system, like into every, not even my cells. It's like, now I have this new body that is moving me. It's like, it's very energetic, and it is also very light. It has not the characteristics of a solid, dense body that you recognize yourself with as a human being, walking around in space and time. So this is a part of the transformation too, the awakening of the body centers, like energy centers in your light body, because we're really talking about an energetic body. And you know all this, you recognize this, and you've read about it, and you can call it Kundalini energy, or however. It's like great to let it flow through you. It's great to come into the experience of you as a whole new body, which can do all kinds of different things, like resurrecting, ascending, but also just being in. It's like centered in a beautiful communication. So that, that's a matter of practicing and using it, or practicing in the sense of enjoying it and celebrating it. So music can be very helpful for that, to really enhance your energy body, your light body. And you see, when we come together with the same purpose, like if you're really present here, you feel more energy flowing through your system too. So it's like together you can actually create a vortex, or however you want to call that. It's like an energy combination, or it's almost like forming an energy mandala in your association with one another. So these are all just expressions that are words characterizing an experience. So they don't cover what the actual experience is, but they can help you to become open for it, and that's always good too. The happy surprise that will come as your mind undergoes this process of initiation, which is really where we're talking about, like entering into this new body is a real process of initiation, is you will literally begin to see differently. So the happy surprise that will come as your mind undergoes this process of initiation is you will literally begin to see differently. Suddenly, here's some examples. Suddenly, a passage of a parable of Jesus that was obscure to you will light up brightly in your mind, and you will see the direct connection of your association in your mind with this. So that is so great. Suddenly you start to open up the Bible and you have never read it before like this. So your eyes are literally opened, and I really invite you to do so. Like you open the Bible, you open the New Testament, for instance, and start to read John, and it's like, wow, this is about me. This is actually about me. And the same with Revelations, like, oh my God, this is a whole different story than I ever would think it is. It's all literally about my awakening, more than anything. Seeing that the allness of me is the allness of you, is everything that there is. In a true sense, you are undergoing this awakening, this resurrection of your mind. So that's the actual occurrence that is happening. So you can call it enlightenment. It's like, that's also a word for it. You can call it illumination, because it is illumining, literally. Your light body suddenly appears as a light. You start to recognize yourself as a light instead of a personality. Well, this is so refreshing. It's so refreshing. That's so great. So the thing here that's being shared, and which is really like the deeper layer beyond all of this, is the fact that you will begin to literally see differently. And that is something that you can't really convey. Like, that's a real experience. You start to see differently. You cannot see the same thing again as you saw as a human being. It's like you don't want to think anymore in terms of limitation. So it's an expansion of mind. And that's the occurrence that is taking place. It's like it is ascending, it's expanding, it's energetic, it is light, it is direct, it is very, gives you a sense of fulfillment and connectedness. So the heavens open up. The heavens did open up. I saw a new earth and a new heaven. This heaven opens up in you. It did open up. And the dove did land on your head. So spirit is literally coming into your system. You're undergoing this. You're in the middle of that process. It's like the dove did land on your head. The dove did land on your head. And that is a whole different communication than we do like verbally. It's like, no, my energy system is opening up, my crown chakra is opening up, my base is opening up. I feel so much more energy whirling its way through my system. And I also start to become much more sensitive for all kinds of occurrences that I didn't see before. Like, I start to become present, really. Like feeling things without, like, you don't have to have an explanation to actually know what's going on. That kind of directness it has. So there's a direct communication that you tap into. So it's so easy to see if you don't follow the perceptual way of looking, so to speak, looking at things. So if you skip that, you actually start to see. You start to see what's going on. So it doesn't matter what anyone is telling you or what appears to be going on. You look right through it. You actually can read what is going on if you want. And that's another way of saying it. It's like, that is so much quicker. You don't have to explain anything. You just see it. And this is just part of the the new way of becoming present in you. And this is given to you. This is just about allowing this mind change to occur to you and not being afraid to let go in order to receive something that is light, love, that takes you out of your grave, gives you an experience of the heavens above, so to speak, the heavens in you, and make you feel connected. When you allow that to be your experience. So that's so great. That's so great. And then you see, talking about the residual, like you see that this residual dissolves. So there's no transition, really. There's not really a transition. It's just you see it for what it is and it disappears. You see that it is nothing. You see that this world is nothing and it disappears. You see that this body is not what it appeared to be and it disappears, whether that's for just a moment or longer. Like, it doesn't matter. So the miracles that we practice is a sudden shift into invisibility. It's like it's for a short moment you recognize your oneness with your brother. It's a gift of love to one another. It's like, oh, now I can laugh again. Oh, my God, that's so great. Now I can suddenly breathe again. I feel the connectedness again. I was in my depression, struggling to get to the other day, and here it is like, boom. No, it doesn't have to be like that. Like there's something else going on. It's not what you think. It has nothing to do with the way that you perceive. There's a new perception coming to you, and it's available now. You can ask for it, and it will be given. You can see this. If you're willing to let go of your ideas about everything for just a moment, then you can always come back to your ideas if you still want them. So nothing is lost. All right, so there's still something to share, of course. It just continues, but so I want to share this. I think this is the last sheet. In A Course in Miracles, Dion says, or Master Teacher says, like, incorporate all of the associations of your mind in this process. Like, incorporate all of the associations of your mind in this process. Leave nothing outside. Like the teachings of a true Zen Master would be simply to take your perceptual mind and try to stop it through a koan from continuing to associate with a limited form of linear time, to force it into an inclusion of itself for just a moment, to disrupt it from its track of time to obliviation. I love that expression. Like, the teachings of a true Zen Master would simply be to take your perceptual mind and try to stop it through the use of a koan, like in one of the Zen koans, from continuing to associate with a limited form of linear time, to force it into an inclusion of itself for just a moment, and disrupt it from its track of time to obliviation. So the greatest Zen Master there could be is the Course in Miracles. The workbook is a perfect example of an attempt to dislodge you from your time associations. Isn't this lovely? So incorporate all of your associations of your mind in this process. Like, leave nothing outside. Don't think that there are exceptions to this. No, so the workbook of A Course in Miracles is really what a Zen Master would be. It's like it helps you to dissociate, in fact, to see it for what it is, to see your perceptual world for what it is, by including it all in, and not making it real any longer, but actually recognizing what you do with it, with your mind. And this is, look at how that happens. Like the first lesson, nothing I see means anything. I've given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I'm never upset for the reason I think. Like, there's no it is an amazing program with say 50 steps in the beginning. Like the first 50 lessons is really what a Zen training would look like, to let go of everything and to discover that I'm surrounded by the love of God, and having that to be your experience, seeing that it has nothing to do with money, it has nothing to do with the medical world, it has nothing to do with your ideas about anything. It has nothing to do with that. So it has to do with something else. So in that, literally, like by obliviating all of this, you actually start to include yourself into the experience of yourself. In other words, it's like you allow that to come to the surface in yourself, in your own consciousness, and not being distracted any longer, at least for a moment, not by the associations of thoughts, like all the objects that you appear to be seeing, and all these things that you have valued, but for a moment let go of this value system of yourself. So in that sense, it is a really quick way to come into an experience of what we actually have been talking about in this Illumination series. Like it always comes back to that. Like let go of your ideas about everything. Allow yourself to be reborn and to come out of the grave, literally out of the say three-dimensional idea about yourself in any way. No time, no space. Like it has nothing to do with that. There is no residue left. You know, when Jesus resurrected, you resurrected. You are risen as the Christ in you, and there is nothing else. So you will come to the point that you see that all the other things that you have valued fall away because you don't value them any longer or see them for what they are. And say, in fact, like looking right through it, discovering that your perception completely changed. And that you have come home in yourself with an awakening of a light body, in complete, say, energetic, oneness, and a oneness of fulfillment and completedness. So that is the illumination story, if you want, and that's the illumination experience. So in that sense, when you start to experience this as an initiate, as we call this, like you're initiated in this, when you start to experience this, you received the initiation. You literally suddenly know what has been spoken about. You actually come into the recognition that that is you, even maybe for just a moment. But this is your initiation on your path of enlightenment, coming to the recognition that there's no exception to that whatsoever. More and more and more you start to see it everywhere. Like we said the other day, love is everywhere. It's like this song I was sharing. Like love is everywhere. It is what you are. So you're going to see it everywhere without exception. So is the light. You recognize the light in everything, and yeah, it doesn't stop to say non-material things. Everything can take you home in that sense. I love it. I love that. So this was the fifth exploration of illumination. And I'm really happy that you're here diving with me into this, and also becoming really hyped about the new experience of yourself, which is available right now. It's like there's nothing stopping you from having an experience of resurrection. So the only limitation that you can possibly experience is your idea that you think it's not possible now. And the love with which this is shared in the book, like in the Book of Master Teachers, is enormous. And so that is like speaking to you directly through my voice, but it's the same love. It's an amazing warm-hearted invitation to join and leave things for what they are for just a moment, to have a different experience of yourself. You know, lovely. So thank you for that. Thank you for being present in this, and see you soon. Thank you.